Hello, welcome back. In part one of buying residential property, we spoke very briefly about the 6 different types of residential zones here in Melbourne. We also talked about the 3 different types of residential properties that we buy, and also the 3 things that we look for in when I'm buying residential property for my clients. So if you want to have a quick recap, please go back and watch part 1. But just very briefly, the 3 things that I look for my clients when I buy residential property are 1, cash flow, 2, capital growth, and 3, the ability to also improve the property in the future. The 3 types of properties are homes, villa units / townhouses, and apartments. And there are roughly 6 zones that make up more than 90% of all the residential zones here in Melbourne. And it's neighbourhood residential, general residential, residential growth zone, mixed use zone, and you've also got township zone and low density residential zone, principally for acreage style properties. So go back, watch video 1 for a little bit of a recap. Today, what I want to talk about is the Residential Tenancies Act, which governs the relationship between the landlords and the tenants here in Victoria. Really, really important. So all landlords need to be aware of this. Obviously, getting a good property manager that understands the law is very, very important, but it's also very important for landlords to understand the law so that when they're communicating with their property manager, specifically landlords that are interstate or expats, especially, they need to know the law. The law is not overly complicated, but it can be quite litigious if certain things aren't followed. And today I just want to talk a little bit about some parts of the Residential Tenancies Act that I consider to be fairly important. I won't go too in depth, but it's important to get a brief understanding of what's going on. For those of you that watched my video on commercial property, you would have heard me talk a little bit about the Retail Leases Act, which governs the leasing of most of the commercial properties here in Victoria. And I was quite complimentary of the Retail Leases Act because it's fairly easy to understand, and because it's very clear and concise, it eliminates a lot of potential disputes that may or may not happen in Victoria around commercial property, generally speaking. Those properties that are under 1,000 square metres and where the tenant is a private entity, which makes up most of the commercial properties here in Victoria. The Residential Tenancies Act of 1997 is the act that governs residential tenancy here in Victoria. It governs the relationship between the landlord and the tenant. And this and the residential tenancy, in my opinion, it's a little bit more convoluted and it's more litigious, and therefore properties that I own that are residential, I'll typically allow a property manager to manage those because I tend to not want to be involved in the management of residential property because of that, because it's highly litigious and the processes are really, really important. And property management is becoming very, very system-based, and what we're finding is a lot of smaller type agencies that are not prepared or willing to fix their processes so that they're really tight. They tend to, if you like, be dominated by the larger players who are more system-based. So a lot of rent rolls in Melbourne are being bought by larger players, and they're ripping out costs in the back end and spending a lot more time focused on processes moving forward. But typically the Residential Tenancies Act is more litigious, it's more convoluted, and there are more red flags, and landlords and property managers need to be more aware of tenants' rights and all the things that are associated with renting property. So I just want to focus on a few of those things today. It's important to also understand that with residential tenancy, the tenants make up a large portion of voters here in Australia and Melbourne. Residential tenants make up a significant voting bloc that can effectively change governments, and therefore they need to be taken seriously by the government, and therefore the government's always changing residential tenancy laws. So they're not really a lobby group, but they're people, right? So and anyone that's renting properties here in Victoria, the government takes their rights very, very seriously, and these rights need to be adhered to by landlords and property managers. So if I can just start with that, the tenants are quite powerful. Residential tenants make up a large voting bloc here in Victoria and Australia, and therefore the government takes their rights very seriously, and hence why the Residential Tenancies Act is quite litigious, and it's very, very important for landlords and property managers to follow specific processes. So let's just start off and let's talk about what makes up the Residential Tenancies Act, and what are the key things that are important within the Act, and also are important for both landlords who own investment properties here in Victoria. The residential leases can be fixed or they can be periodic. So they can be fixed for a year or for 2 years or for 3 years, whatever the landlord and the tenant agree to, or they can be periodic, they can be monthly. So that's pretty straightforward, it's pretty easy to understand. So when a tenant moves into a property, they typically will pay a bond, and that bond goes to a government agency called the RTBA, or the Residential Tenancies Bond Authority, and the government will effectively keep that bond. The real estate agent that's managing the property, or the owner, need to provide a receipt and evidence that the bond has been sent to the RTBA within 10 days. Now, what's interesting in Victoria is over the last 3 years, the number of bonds held by the RTBA has fallen, typically around 3% every year. So one of the things that's happening here in Victoria is property investors are selling their properties and they're being bought by owner-occupiers, and that's having an impact on rents, and that's one of the reasons rents are actually moving north over the last 3 years. There are a lot more less bonds that the RTBA is holding today than it was 3 years ago. It's still more than 10 years ago, but in the last 2-3 years, those bonds have actually fallen quite considerably. So it's good for existing landlords, but it's not great for tenants moving forward. Under the Act, you can only request rent 1 month in advance, and if the rent's under $900, 14 days in advance. Also, obviously, landlords want to increase rent, but under the Act, you can't increase rent more than once per annum if the lease is a fixed term. Obviously, if it's periodic you can, but you need to fill out a specific form from the Consumer Affairs. So that form needs to be filled out. So there's a process and a record that needs to be kept when increasing rent for leases that are periodic, they're not fixed. Condition reports are pretty important. So the property manager needs to provide a condition report prior to the tenant moving into the property. So that alleviates possible disputes down the track. And those condition reports are always provided before the tenant moves in. Typically, you can do 2 condition reports per annum, but for those condition reports, you need to give the tenant 7-day notice. In terms of repairs as well, there are urgent repairs. For repairs that are urgent, like burst water mains or hot water systems that aren't working, or heating that's not working, or where there's water ingress into the property, the property manager and the landlord need to act within 24 to 48 hours. For non-urgent repairs, 14 days is okay. So the essence of time is really, really critical. Now here I want to talk about something that's really, really important. So one of the requirements of the Residential Tenancies Act is that the properties, when you're renting a property here in Victoria, they need to have minimum standards. And these minimum standards are probably the most important thing that landlords need to understand and appreciate moving forward. In terms of certification, the landlords need a certificate for an electrical and a gas certificate, and also a certificate for smoke alarms. So electrical and gas needs to be every couple of years, and smoke alarms every year, annual. Those 3 things are really, really critical. in addition to the certificates, the gas, electrical and smoke alarm certificates that need to be provided either biannually or annually, there are minimum standards also that landlords and property managers need to comply with and they need to be aware of. So I won't go through the whole list, but it's important that you read through it. Things like heaters in the lounge room, hot water in the bathroom, window coverings, if there's any asbestos, tenants need to be made aware of that. So these are, locks on doors, those type of things. So there's a minimum standard that's required prior to tenants moving into the property, and that's really, really critical. So when I'm buying residential property, one of the things I'm looking at, that's one of the things I'm looking at and letting the buyers know. Look, and the other issues here where there's quite a few disputes is notice periods when an owner, a landlord, a vendor wants to either move into a property or they want to sell it or they want to say there are minimum notice periods that are required, and they're typically 60 days. And you can't just remove a tenant for no reason during a fixed term. That can only be done during a periodic form. And there's certain forms that need to be filled out that comply. So look, it's not rocket science, and it's not overly difficult to understand the Residential Tenancies Act. So it's all great to buy real estate for capital growth purposes, but really what property investors need when they're buying properties, especially owners, interstate or expats, they need income that's recurring, that's durable, and it's very, very important that there's a property manager that makes firstly the right tenant selection. That's really, really critical, and there are really good means today for that are used to select tenants to make sure that the right tenant is being selected for the property. But what's really critical is that cash flow continues, that it's durable, that it's secure, and that property managers are eliminating vacancy periods. And tenants are human beings, and what they're looking for is a property that has minimum standards and it's comfortable to live in. So a lot of these expenses are obviously tax deductible, whether as an expense or as a capital expenditure using depreciation. So and when landlords are spending money on their properties, a lot of the stuff that they're spending can actually improve not only the rent but the market value of the property, depending on what they're spending money on. So it's really, really critical that when you're buying an investment property for capital growth purposes, that you're really focused on cash flow and you're focused on making sure that the tenants are paying rent regularly, and even having a property where you can increase the rent. So you're buying in an area where rents are actually going north. But the Residential Tenancies Act is really important, and that's why I've got it as part 2 of my videos on investing in residential properties, because it's really there to help owners understand what's required and what's needed to secure that cash flow moving forward, and to avoid courts, solicitors and all these sort of things, because ultimately what we want is that cash flow to come in and to be used to buy more properties in the future. So hopefully you found this really, really valuable. So video 1 was really about, again, the different zones, the different type of residential properties, what we look for when we buy property. But this video hopefully helps explain the legislation that governs the relationships between the landlords and the tenants, and what are the minimum standards that are required. I would recommend that you get yourself a copy of the Residential Tenancies Act here in Victoria and have a read through, maybe not the whole thing, but certainly the areas that are really, really important, and those areas that I've covered off today: minimum standards, and also the notice periods are really, really critical, and in terms of the bond and the rent and how often you can increase the rent, those sort of things. So I would highly recommend that you get yourself a copy, read through it, and be a lot more prepared when you're dealing with property managers, especially for those owners that are living interstate. Thank you very much. If you've got any questions or you'd like to talk further about these issues, please email me or text me, and hope to see you again in my next video.